talk about oil and the spike in oil prices. Joining us now is Kevin Book, ClearView Energy Partners Managing Director. Kevin, it's good to see you. We were, a couple of weeks ago, we were pretty well supplied, the world, was it not? Is that not the case anymore? And I guess I'm getting to the difference between spot and futures and whether there is a premium or a fear premium built into what could happen versus what's actually happening.
Good to see you, Joe. The difference, I think, is also maybe the one between stocks and flows. So right now, the flows are interrupted. That's obvious. The question is what's going on with stockpiles. We had an enormous build in 2025, but now we're drawing down stocks as production starts to shut in. Eventually, that catches up. So when you hear talk, as Andrew mentioned, about a coordinated action, you may not be able to close that flowing supply gap right now with government strategic reserves. But what you can do is you can shore up those lost inventories. And one of the strongest statistical relationships in oil analysis is the inverse correlation between price and inventories. Right.
So do you have a better idea than we have how long this lasts and ultimately what the peak in oil is? And will we be at 85 in 2 weeks?
Well, it depends on what happens on the ground or really in the water. I guess that has to do with questions outside of what we cover directly, but let's ask, are we getting more assets moved to the region? Is either side planning to say, all right, we give up? It doesn't look like it right now that the latter is true, and the former looks like it might be true. So maybe we're going on longer. At some point, you have to ask, what are we going to get on the U.S. side, right? Markets price scarcity. Democracies reward popularity, and scarcity isn't popular, so something's got to give. And also there's a question of what it would mean to escort ships through the strait past anti-ship missiles. How much do we have in the way of interceptors? What does that look like in the end? If this goes on weeks, then I think we start to get to the point where supply balances demand on price. And until supply shows back up, price is going to destroy demand.
So we know Iraq, for example, oil production, a third of the normal rate. What does all this mean for our friends in Russia and China?
Well, it means that Russia's barrels, which previously were discounted because they were sanctions distressed, are now able to command much more of a premium than they would previously. It means that China, which was already buying barrels closer to full market price from some of its previous providers as the buyer of last resort for those providers, is going to have to pay more. But it also means that China, in 2022, Joe, we had a situation where former President Biden asked China to draw down their strategic reserves, and they didn't. This time around, they have an incentive maybe to do so.
Where's our SPR right now? And have we been trying to, has the Trump administration been trying to build it back up?
This may be one of the most catastrophic mispricings of risk that's come out of the U.S. Congress in a long time. At the start of the Trump administration, you may recall, in President Trump's second inaugural address, he talked about filling the SPR to the top. Energy Secretary Chris Wright said, let's get $20 billion and fill the SPR. It would have been a time-consuming process, but underway. Instead, Congress gave $171 million. So far, they've done 1 million barrels of fill. Again, you wouldn't have a full SPR right now. We're at about 415 million barrels. That is an extremely considerable resource. I don't want to diminish it, but the time to buy insurance is when you don't need it.
Hey, Kevin, let's think about this from an inflationary perspective. And if these price hikes last, I've seen lots of different rules of thumb. One I saw yesterday was that a 10% increase in Brent translates to about 2 to 3% increase in food prices. What other rules of thumb do you have, and how long do you have to see those price hikes before they actually start to kick into some other inflationary places, whether that's airline prices, prices at the pump, food, and the rest of that?
Well, so there's the economic question and the political one. The economic question requires a little bit of a duration, and a transient spike over sort of long-term averages shouldn't really change inflationary pictures very much. The political story actually might be quite different because people remember those price spikes a lot longer than maybe politicians might like. On the other hand, the other rule of thumb I think you hear a lot is a 10% increase in oil prices is 0.4 percentage point increase in inflation. And it's because what we're looking at right now, particularly these barrels, these medium sour barrels from the Gulf, the middle distillates, the things that move our freight, that move our planes, that make our economy go. Those barrels are the ones that we're looking at missing. We're looking at products rising, becoming expensive, and staying that way until those inventories replenish. This is where that strategic action has some value, even if it can't close the flowing barrel gap. The idea to try to take the edge off prices further out the forward curve.
You're not obviously a military guy, Kevin, but would you, if a week from now you heard the Straits open, for whatever reason, everything's been degraded, the ability to stop ships, whatever, would that be a surprise to you? Is that possible?
Well, I mean, we originally modeled a 1-week Strait closure scenario when we were looking ahead at this for the last several years, and we're past that now. So, yeah, of course, it's possible. It was sort of our baseline expectation. We thought maybe mines would get laid down and then get cleaned up. We're not even looking at that right now, though. And the question is, what is stopping the ships? It's not just insurance. It's actual risk. It's assurance to the safety of the crews and physical cargoes. And it's not obvious, as long as the conflict persists, how that would change. Now, the conflict could end. There's a lot of mechanisms at work that could provide safety, more warships escorting tankers. But 1 week is starting to look a little optimistic right now.